News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Well, we have a couple of major happenings. This week is the debate, as you heard moments ago from our newsman on the program, officially, that we will indeed. We are the only station carrying the debates live, period, is carrying them during the presidential debate, 8 p.m. during this show on Thursday night from Atlanta. And so much to talk about on that. And one of the big deals is over the weekend, Fake News CNN had on one of their shows, they had spokesperson for Trump, Caroline Leavitt. And the anchor, Cassie Hunt, minutes after the interview got started, was asking Leavitt, now I got the audio for you, was asking Leavitt what the former president's strategy was for when he takes to the stage in Atlanta. And she said he's well prepared. Unlike Joe Biden, he doesn't have to hide and have his advisors tell him what to say. Trump knows what to say, she said. And then the spokesperson was then shut down. She said, no. The debate stage will likely be a hostile environment for Jake Tapper, and accused the CNN debate monitors, that is to say, before Trump spoke, before Caroline Leavitt was shut down, she noted that it'll be a hostile environment for Trump. And then she accused the debate monitors, Jake Tapper and Dana Bash from CNN, of biased coverage in the past. And that's where we're going to chime in here when I play this in a sec. And listen to this anchor, Cassie Hunt, shut her down and dismiss her from the interview because she wants to say some of the things that Jake Tapper and Dana Bash have said about Trump that are completely biased and hateful. Here's how that went.
So it takes someone 5 minutes to Google Jake Tapper, Donald Trump, to see that Jake Tapper has consistently,
we're going to stop this interview if you're going to keep attacking my colleagues.
Adolf Hitler.
Ma'am, I'm going to stop this interview if you continue to attack my colleagues. I would like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for.
Yes.
If you are here to speak on his behalf, I'm willing to have this conversation.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay.
Now,
I'm sorry, guys. We're going to come back out to the panel. Caroline, thank you very much for your time. You are welcome to come back at any point. She is welcome to come back and speak about Donald Trump, and Donald Trump will have equal time to Joe Biden when they both join us now at later this week in Atlanta for this debate.
Okay, who lost it there? Who do you think lost that whole situation? You can see it on my Twitter feed at Chris Crock Show. That's at Chris Crock Show, ChrisKrock. The second thing is special counsel Jack Smith, who may be removed because of not being constitutionally appointed, but that's up in the air right now for the Judge Cannon. But today, special counsel Jack Smith literally asked for another gag order on Trump. So literally, we put you in jail as much as possible, as quickly as possible on rigged trials. You can't even speak about them until we put you in jail. And then when your spokesperson goes on CNN, which is who's hosting this debate, and attempts to share some of the legitimate quotes that Jake Tapper has said on the air, and I'll play them for you in a little bit. I have them, some of them, a nice little compilation. Literally comparing what Hitler says to Mein Kampf. If you read the book Mein Kampf, he says you'll see some of the same quotes from Trump. How the heck could this guy be a legit debater? Well, no, look, Trump agreed to it. I'm not going to play. I can't stand people on our side that are lamenting about this. Trump agreed to it. But to not be able to share the biases of these anchors, direct things they've said, not unclear things, but things that have been on their air, to shut them down is so freaking insane. It shows how horribly biased anybody in the media is, save maybe Fox News and the other conservative outlets out there. So my questions are, who do you think lost in that little battle you heard right there? I think that the anchor, Cassie, whatever her name is, Cassie Hunt, I think she lost her stuff. She couldn't breathe. She was like, I've been there before earlier on when I've been nervous and I cut something off. I'm like, did I do the right thing? I think she figured out as she was doing this, she was going off. She was losing it. She said, you're attacking my colleagues. She wasn't attacking. You heard it. She was sharing some biased statements they made. You can disagree with it. Let her finish and say, ma'am, we're not here to do that. I disagree with you, but let's move on. So like, no. And shouting over so you can't even hear it. It's insane. So who do you think came out ahead in that little argument? And do you trust CNN and Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, who she's also said a lot of terrible things about Trump publicly? Do you trust CNN, Jake Tapper, and Dana Bash to treat Trump fairly in this week's debate? And do you feel the justice system is being used against Trump, like in the media, in ways that have never been done to anyone else? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. To where you can't even say anything. By the way, chime in right now. Line's wide open, 800-288-WBAP. To say where you can't even quote things that the anchors that will be moderating the debate in 3 days, to not be able to say some things they've said on their air, publicly, on their shows, is insane. I think if that's all she did the whole time, I would say, yeah, okay, get out of here. You said it once. You're not going to keep saying the same thing over again. But that was not what this was. This is, you cannot say anything about how horribly our anchors have treated the president and how biased they are. So this is going to be a challenge, as she was trying to say. So you cannot say the truth. You cannot defend yourself. Remember, George Stephanopoulos did this too. Remember that? Last week we played some audio. He was shutting down, can't remember which person it was. It was Trump's. It was the head of the RNC, I think. And he was saying some stuff about, can't remember what it was, but saw how some of the other cases were rigged and biased and thrown out. And George Stephanopoulos was like, we're not here. No, you can't. No, he literally shouted over him. You cannot even say anything to defend the president or show that there's bias or there's issues with the news or with Biden. None of it can be said. You are shut down. You can't even say it if you're a Trump official. And now another gag order attempt in the federal trial. So it's literally unlike anything we've ever seen. And I know we're used to this with Trump being mistreated, but this is insane. And you know that judge in New York still has not even allowed a gag order to be released. And I've heard of so many people, including former federal prosecutor Andy McCarthy, who was over the Southern District of New York, which is where that case is with Trump. And he literally, with Bragg, and he literally said, there's never a gag order on any case once it's been adjudicated. Once it's happened, even if it's guilty, it doesn't matter. There's no reason for a gag order. It's over. He's guilty. And if he goes too far in what he says, the judge can impose a stricter sentence on him. That's how it works. So case is over. No worry about the jury. Jury's been dismissed. They already made the decision. Attack whoever you want to. And if you do something that's really crosses the line that most would agree with, then the judge can increase your sentence because of that. So he's gagged from that. He can't say anything about that still, or he'll go to jail. Now you got the federal prosecutors trying to do this. On CNN and ABC News and any one of them now, we all know, you will be shouted down and not allowed to say things that make your opponent or the press look bad. You can't do it anymore. So there's nothing, you can never see anything that is hurtful to Biden or to the media on the mainstream media. They don't even allow it anymore. I swear to you, it's never been like this until this particular one. They're like, we're gonna claw, steal, beg, rob, kill, destroy, hurt anybody or anything to make sure this guy doesn't win. And you know what's amazing? I'm seeing things today about how from the AP freaking out, which we'll talk about probably tomorrow or something. The AP freaking out saying that conservatives in the future Trump administration are already putting together a list of federal, deep state type employees that are biased against him to remove. They're panicking. Why are they panicking? Because the things are looking good for Trump still to this very moment. That national poll with Biden, that be him being 2 points up, great. Do you think it matters if he's 2 points up in Illinois, California, Detroit, whatever, Detroit, that would matter. New York, places that are already pretty much solid one way or the other. You think it matters? What are those polls in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Nevada, or Georgia, or Arizona? No. So that's not a reason to panic. Now, if we start seeing the trend, there's a reason to start going, oh crap, and to worry and panic and not to play dumb. Okay, coming up next in the Chris Crock Show, you're going to hear some of the Jake Tapper, little kind of compilation of Jake Tapper terribly biased statements comparing Trump to Hitler. He's going to be the main debater, moderator, along with Dana Bash, who said a lot of bad things too. Don't worry, it's all good. It'll all work out great, huh? Then the next thing we're doing is Republicans are urging Trump to avoid his 2020 debate pitfalls. We're going to talk to you about what advice you would tell Trump on how to prepare for this week's debate. Coming up next, Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3. 800-288-WBAP is our number. That's 800-288-9227. News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Let's hear Jake Tapper and his Trump bias. A little montage.
The dehumanizing rhetoric of Adolf Hitler is once again alive and well on a national political stage. This time, of course, in the United States. Donald Trump, a couple times over the weekend, referred to immigrants from South America, Africa, and Asia. He did not mention Europe, South America, Africa, and Asia, as, quote, poisoning the blood of our country, which it's not hyperbole. That does very directly echo Adolf Hitler's language before World War II. To open up a copy of Hitler's Mein Kampf, you would find the Nazi leader describing the mixing of non-Germans with Germans as poisoning. There's really no other way to say it. Donald Trump's language mirrors this directly.
Oh, Donald Trump is Hitler! Donald Trump, you're Hitler. Now, can I moderate your debate? You ready? Hey, is Hitler ready? Hello, I'm Jake Tapper, live from CNN Atlanta. We are introducing President Biden. There he is. Yes. And now Trump is here. All right. Thank you, Mr. Hitler. Mr. Trump. Heil Hitler. Hello, Mr. Trump. Right? Oops. Yeah, you can trust him to not be biased. But again, Trump agreed to this, so we can't be whining about that. But it's okay to say the bias is there, and of course, we're not allowed to say anything. Okay. Now I want to get into this. Republicans from the Hill today. Republicans urging Donald Trump to avoid the 2020 debate repeat on Thursday of this week. What does that mean? Well, I want to ask you that right now. What advice would you tell Trump about how to prepare for this week's debate? And what would you tell him to avoid doing during the debate? And what should he do instead of what he's done in the past? 800-288-WBAP is our number. That's 800-288-9227. I'll share what some of the Republicans are saying in this the Hill story today. I will intersperse my thoughts. 2020 debate marked by, the Hill says, interruptions, badgering, and running roughshod over Biden. And debate monitor Chris Wallace. I agree. I think that first one he did well, and the second one he was horrible. He was constantly interrupting. I'm like, dude. And then you and I thought he did great, but then you got to be honest. We're like, oh, wait, no, he interrupted a lot of times. He cannot do that this time. He's got to let Joe hang himself. How do you let Joe hang himself? Do not jump in. First of all, the microphones being muted, I think, is great. And Trump had darn well better not to try to say it loud enough to get Biden's mic to pick up anything. Dude, don't do anything dumb other than some expressions if you want to do that. Don't say anything. Don't try to communicate while he's doing it. Let that guy hang himself. Let him go. What anyways, like he did a couple days ago. And then turn the policy on him. Well, you're a convicted felon. Well, Joe, you're letting convicted felons into this country. I heard a brilliant little line from one of the Fox News people that I wanted to use. I can't recall what exactly it says. But, I know what it was. Well, Joe, your special counsel, Robert Hur, that investigated you, said you did commit multiple felonies. However, you were too incompetent to stand trial because your memory and your age and your ageness, your mental condition. So, Joe, you would be charged and you'd eventually be a convicted felon, but you can't. You're too competent. According to your own Justice Department, you're too incompetent. So what do you mean, Joe? What do you mean? At least I'm competent to stand trial. Okay, Cindy, BAP, you're on WBAP. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, Chris.
Hello.
I think what he needs to do is let Joe talk.
Yes.
Let him talk and fumble, mumble. Let him stare at the camera and have a freeze moment and then not make sense. Let him do that. Once his time is up, go in behind him and just destroy him and state the facts and what he can do for the country, because we're in a terrible mess. And just probe him on what's happened in the country in the last 2 weeks with all the innocent women getting killed
by their name. Joe,
Yes.
Joe, you and your DHS secretary don't name them. You don't remember their names. You call them individuals.
Yes.
Joe, I call their families.
Yes.
And say their names. Jocelyn Nungare, 12 years old, now being accused of these two illegals you let in. They had their backgrounds checked. They passed them, even though one of them was wanted for murder in El Salvador. You let them in, and they murder from Venezuela. You let them in, and they murdered one of our precious girls, and they are now accused of raping her, stripping her pants out, sexually assaulting her for 2 hours while she's alive, and then killing her. You did that, Joe. Boom.
Yes.
Boom.
And I think they threw her off the bridge, and I think he needs to say, look in the camera, you got blood on your hands. Here are the following families I've called. I think if he stays like that, the American people are going to it's going to be a slam dunk. Let him mumble, fumble, and stare at the screen.
I'm telling you, my fear is he's going to reach his arms over, wave them around while Joe's saying something dumb, or say something out loud to try to get it picked up on the microphone. He's going to lose. Now, here's the thing. People were saying today on fake news CNN and some other ones, well, this is going to be Trump can't handle this. He's going to do poorly because he's used to an audience. No. Hold on. Where did his fame beyond being a rich, funny, celebrity real estate businessman that was widely liked on all sides after that? What launched him into stardom before his political career? What was the last thing he did before his political career?
Before his political career?
Yeah, before being a businessman. After being a businessman successful, what did he do for several years?
Well, he had that real popular show.
That's exactly right. And how many people were in the audience there?
0.
0.0.
Yes.
None.
Yes.
And he was wildly successful at that show. They so successful they carried it for what? 8, 10, 15, I don't even know. And so once he launched his political career, that was ended. But the man knows how to work a room when it's 3 people in a room, 5 people in a room. This is going to be fine. He's used to doing his show in a room with maybe 10 adults that are on camera, 5 to 10 of them, and then 20 people behind the scenes all around him in the room, but no audience. And he won. And he looked great. It's not going to be an issue. This hopefully puts constraints on Trump that hurt him. And I hope he honors that and doesn't make a fool of himself by trying to interject when he really can't and will look bad doing so. That's my big hope. More of details on what Republicans are saying. There's a whole bunch more I haven't shared with you yet in this column from The Hill about what advice would you tell Trump as he prepares for the debates. And then, of course, what's your advice for Trump to do and to not do before this debate? Lines wide open. Chime in right now, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. And check this out. Biden's campaign manager just threw in the towel for this hugely important state. Which one is it? I'll tell you next. News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. Hey, Biden's campaign manager has thrown in the towel in Florida. That was some of the Democrats the past couple of weeks were saying, he's looking real close. He's gaining. And in a, quote, candid interview, supposedly, over the weekend with the head campaign manager or campaign chair, Jen O'Malley Dillon, was asked about this. And one of the questions was, are you saying you see North Carolina also as a battleground state? Yes. Florida? No. Thank you. I was afraid you were going to lie. Yeah, nobody thought Florida was in whatever. But that was like, you know what's interesting? Even though that Fox News poll came out the other day and said that Biden is ahead now by 2 points, the 7 swing states have not changed. And most of them have Trump leading by 1 to 3 points. Some of them a little bit more. Now, before I introduce the next, we're going to kind of blend two Trump topics together. Right now, we're in the middle of talking about what advice would you tell Trump about how to prepare for this week's debate, and what would you tell him to avoid doing during the debate, and what should he do instead, since it's 3 days from now. And presumably he's kind of getting ready. Joe Biden's surrounded. He's hiding in. He literally hasn't. He won't surface for a full week. No duties other than preparing for his debate. And he's got 16 people helping him. It's called prepping yourself into paralysis. Maybe it'll work for him, but I don't think so, man. I used to prep myself way overboard, and then you paralyze your mind. You got too much flying through there. John Thune, senator from South Dakota, said, "Don't take the bait." His debate advice. By the way, our number is 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Chime in right now. What advice would you tell Trump about how to prepare for this week's debate, and what would you tell him to avoid doing during the debate, and what should he do instead? Okay, J.D. Thune, Republican from South Dakota, said, "Don't take the bait. Demeanor's important. Tone's important. I think you can be decisive and strong as he is, but I think in many ways you want to give President Biden as much rope as possible, because I don't think that probably is going to play well for him." And I agree. Let the man hang himself with his own rope. This is why you play them, right? Thune said the debates are going to be important, as they always are. If Trump comes in there and just shows strength and leadership, but maintains a calm demeanor, then lets Biden go. It goes well for him. I agree. The question is, will he do that? Like I've said over the years, he is his own worst enemy. Trump is. Don't get in your own way, and you'll do it. You'll do very well. By the way, the idea that Joe Biden's going to perform horribly is BS. We see how he is. We know how decrepit and dementia and Alzheimer's laden he is. It may be all in the earlier stages, but it's there, and we all know it. But they do seem to do something. And I was listening to Ronnie Jackson, the former White House doctor for Bush, President Hussein Obama, and for Trump. 3 presidents. He was the White House physician. And he said, yes, I believe they're giving him something. And she said, what? This is on Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Bartiromo on Fox. I love that show. And he was saying several different things, of which one of them was don't take the bait, yes, but get in there. Oh, and what they're going to say, I'm sorry, Ronnie Jackson was saying this. What they're going to do is they're going to give him ADHD medication, which is what I was telling you for a week or two. That gives you hyperfocus and it gives you energy. Number 2, he said they're going to give him, there's a drug that takes the old man crankiness and crabbiness out. And it's there's some for Parkinson's and there's some for Alzheimer's and dementia. So he named a few of them. I don't need to know the names. That's getting into the weeds. But you're talking about medication that soothes and calms people that have dementia or Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, to soothe them and say don't panic and be a jerk and turn all nasty. And then they have another medication for ADHD. I do agree. He said the problem is they might give him too much and it might really affect his performance. And she's like, well, isn't this a problem? Couldn't this hurt the president and send him to the hospital? Yes, it could. And I told you last week, I was just, in passing, I'm thinking they could give the wrong dose and just really destroy it for him. Who knows? That's got to be some crazy science figured out. I'm sure they did a lot of experimenting in the past several weeks to make sure that it'll work for them. Ken in Arlington, you're on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM. Or should I say you're on WBAP. Hello, Ken.
Hey, Chris. I guess one of the words that might set Biden off if Trump keeps saying depends.
Yeah, you don't talk about Depends diapers. You don't talk you don't talk about him getting medicated. You don't talk about him falling off a stage or falling up a stairs. You don't talk about that. You let him do it.
Right.
How do you let him do it? How do you let him do it? By not interrupting him, by doing the exact opposite that he thinks you're going to do. Don't do anything but look at the camera. And look at and look at where you got to look at, and not be a jerk, and don't interrupt this guy. He will destroy himself. He won't know how to do anything for 2.5 minutes or whatever he gets, 90 seconds. He won't know what to do with himself.
Well, I think if Trump controls himself for this first debate, everything's downhill. I think he's won. If he does that, it's a big win for him and his administration of not firing back, not saying off-key words or anything like that. Just sit there and shake your head. Don't sit there and snap back like you did with Hillary. If I did, you'd be underneath the jail.
And the same thing that he did with Biden in 2020.
Right.
And so he I don't know if he can do that. But if he doesn't do what we're recommending, I actually think it's right back to where we were 4 years ago. Polls look good right now. Better, much better, much better. Like he was behind in these swing states by like 7 points at the same time last 4 years ago. So he has literally. He's made up between 4 and 8 points in all these swing states that he didn't have at this very moment 4 years ago. So there's a real chance he's going to win this. But I think if he messes up like we're talking about and does it the wrong way at the debate, he might be back to square one where he was at this very moment 4 years ago because of his own foolishness and lack of control.
He could do it, but like you've said in the past, and I've heard you say it, is that Trump is a type A+ personality. And if he could just go through this without being the type A+ personality, then he'll win everything.
I agree. I agree. Appreciate your call, Ken. Thank you very much. 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227 is our number. What advice would you tell Trump about how to prepare for this week's debate, and what would you tell him to avoid during the debate? What should he do instead? All right. 800-288-WBAP. I've got more. I can fit this in, I think. You have Shelley Moore Capito, Republican from West Virginia. She says, I think they're going to be looking for other cues in terms of is President Biden's answer, is he capable of answering all the questions relevantly? Is President Trump within the rails? She says, who knows? That's what I think the debate presents all sorts of questions. J.D. Vance, I think it's going to be a good night, but it's a very important night, Vance said, and he couldn't be more correct on that. He has to make the case to the American people. There's a very clear contrast between how things were under him and how things were under Biden. He just, I think, has to hit that theme, and that's what we'll do. Trump's going to kick his A word. Senator Ted Cruz said fully. He says, you can quote me on that. Okay, but I'm telling you, he already did it a lot in the past several weeks. Just the other day, he said it more normal, like, Joe might do pretty well. But before that, for weeks, he was saying what? He can't talk. He drools on himself. Can't complete a sentence. So all he's going to do is show up and act fairly decent, and Joe Biden wins. So Trump's job is to withdraw his hand from going after him personally and withdraw interrupting. And as he's saying things that are blatantly false, or if you come up with counters, he may not take notes. He may not need to. But for me, it's quick bullet point. Boom, boom. Might be 2 words. Boom, 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 boom. And then you just go, this, boom. This, you said this, boom, 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 boom. So the guy can't do anything without a script or about note cards. So he may fall apart. Who knows? Okay, coming up next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Trump's VP pick down to his final 3. That's according to like 15 sources that NBC News talked to. NBC News. Well, is that true? And who are these 3 people? And is there somebody else that if it's not in the 3 people there that you would rather him pick, and why? All that is next at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. And do you really think it's just these 3? And who are they? Next. News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3. Okay, here are the 3 people. This is brand new. This came out today exclusively, as far as I could tell, until the other news outlets got it. But the Daily Mail, actually, they said this is from NBC. The Daily Mail reported it, but NBC News broke it. It's 3. It's down to 3. According to more than a dozen sources involved with or knowledge of the process confirmed, the process of Trump picking his vice presidential candidates, but more than a dozen sources involved with or knowledge of the process confirmed at NBC News, the pick is either Doug Burgum, J.D. Vance, Doug Burgum, of course, the governor of North Dakota, J.D. Vance, of course, the Ohio senator who wrote Hillbillyology, or that was what it was, right? Hillbillyology about the. It was made into a movie. I can't remember the name. The movie was the same as the book, and it was all about what is it? That's it. Hillbillyology, elegy or ology? Okay, yeah, okay. Hillbilly alligator, whatever that. Anyways, it's about what not heroin, but OxyContin, the addiction of OxyContin in the rural parts of America and in Ohio, and how it's destroyed them. And then you saw, was it Meryl Streep that did that movie along with somebody else? I saw it. It was pretty good. Anyways, J.D. Vance is his one of his top three. Doug Burgum, governor of North Dakota, and then Senator Marco Rubio, a Republican senator from Florida. Supposedly, that's it. It was 7, now it's 3. Some claim it's down to Burgum and Vance. NBC News says because there's doubts over Rubio's enthusiasm for the job and the issue of being a Florida resident. Both of them could pose issues with the inhabitant clause in the 12th Amendment. He could move out, though. That's what Dick Cheney did. Dick Cheney. His expression. If you're watching me on Facebook Live and the Chris Crock Show on Facebook Live right now, Dick Cheney, rough chin. Not a fan of his. Used to be, but not a fan of his anymore. Trump said to NBC News that his pick will most likely be at the debate on Thursday. Ruh-roh. You're going to have it possibly on Thursday. Burgum, Vance, Rubio, and Senator Tim Scott and Tom Cotton and Elise Stefanik and Rep. Byron Donalds were all on that list, as well as Ben Carson. I don't want Ben. Tom would be great, but Cotton, but I don't think he's right. Tim Scott would be great. I just don't want him to run for president after that because he's not nasty enough and mean enough and biting enough. Trump said it. He's more insanely awesome. He says when he's advocating for me, which makes him a good wingman. J.D. Vance could be a little too far right. If Trump wins, then I don't care who he picks on, almost, right? Doug Burgum will be, he seems to love this guy, and he's got the business acumen, and he's pretty moderate and calm. He might pick him after all, but it just, I don't know. He's a perfect vice president to just stay out of the shadows, get out of here. Thank you. We'll take you if the president has an issue and dies, God forbid. But otherwise, no. I think it's going to end up being Burgum if it's those three. But Tim Scott would be the best. He just can't be president after that because he's going to get his butt. He's going to lose it. He's going to lose the election because he's so nice. Byron Donalds would be great. He's a little too to the right for me. Not for me, but I think to win. Although if they don't affect the race, I don't care who he picks. Like I said, all of these picks would be fine. But my favorites would be Tim Scott. And I guess Burgum would be next on this list. I'm not too happy with it all. Tim Scott would be the best. But here we are. Which of these three would you pick for vice president if you were picking for Trump? And if there's somebody else you'd like, who would it be? Instead of those three, which is Vance, Burgum, and Marco Rubio. 800-288-WBAP is our number. Chime in right now. Lines wide open. 800-288-9227. Which of these three would you pick for vice president? And if there's someone else that you like, who would it be? That's not on the list at all. Or one of those 7 there that's supposedly been knocked off. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Yeah, Elise Stefanik, nah. New York, he ain't going to get much from it. Byron Donalds, yeah, sure, he'd be the first male black vice president, but he's a little too, boom, 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 boom. I love the guy, but I think he's good as a senator and or a congressman. Same thing with Elise Stefanik. Tom Cotton's great, too, and I'm like, of course we're going to win Arkansas, so I'm like, and he is great, but I think he's better where he's at. So for me, it would be number 1, Tim Scott, number 2, Doug Burgum, number 3, probably Marco Rubio, I think. So there we are. Which one would you pick if you were Trump? Which one of these 3? And if there's somebody else, who would you like it to be? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Here's the other stuff. Biden, this is from CNN, of all places, an editorial column. Biden's searing character attacks on Trump, that is his entire tactic, is how evil Trump is. Insurrection, which there was no insurrection. It wasn't an insurrection. And convicted felon. All this kind of stuff. That's it. Dark, scare you, boogie, boogie, booga, booga, booga. That's the Biden campaign. However, this columnist on CNN said his character attacks on Trump may tell a story about his own campaign's struggles. In other words, Biden doesn't have anything to brag about. He's got nothing to run on. He's doing a referendum on how evil Orange Man is. Orange Man needs to do a referendum on how bad our country is right now. Illegal immigrants murdering and raping our children all over this country and women. Wars all over. Ukraine, Russia, Afghanistan disaster. Now in the Middle East, China eating our lunch. Probably going to get in there within a year or two because if Joe Biden's in still. And inflation, groceries, gas. The green crap, shutting down all our energy sources, all of that. That's what I would be. That's exactly what I would be focused on. So for months, Biden has argued how horrible Orange Man is, all the bad stuff he brings up on him that he can, and vilifies him and scares people. But for months, Biden's team has been trying this. But it's now midsummer, this columnist says in CNN, and the election is less than 5 months away. There's every sign the race is still shaping up as much as a referendum on Biden. Hear that? A referendum on Biden. That's what we need to do. That's what Trump needs to do, by the way, in the debate. All right, 800-288-WBAP is our number. Also coming up next, if you recall what I said I would be surprised at with Jocelyn Dungray, the little 12-year-old girl that was murdered and left in a bayou by two of Joe Biden's recent illegal arrivals just weeks ago. New information about that attack, and it's my worst fear that I was telling you about. We'll get into that coming up next on the Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.